The Seljuk Empire was a medieval Turco-Persian empire, originating from the Kynyq branch of Oghuz Turks. The Seljuk Empire controlled a vast area stretching from the Hindu Kush to eastern Anatolia and from Central Asia to the Persian Gulf, from their homelands near the Aral Sea. The Seljuks advanced first into Khorasan and then into mainland Persia before eventually conquering eastern Anatolia. The Seljuk Empire was founded by Tufril Beg in 1037. Tufril was raised by his grandfather, Seljuk Beg, who was in a high position in the Oghuz Yabgu state. Seljuk gave his name to both the Seljuk Empire and the Seljuk dynasty. The Seljuks united the fractured political scene of the Eastern Islamic world and played a key role in the First and Second Crusades. Highly Persianized in culture and language, the Seljuks also played an important role in the development of the Turco-Persian tradition, even exporting Persian culture to Anatolia. The settlement of Turkic tribes in the northwest and peripheral parts of the empire, for the strategic military purpose of fending off invasions from neighboring states, led to the progressive Turkicization of those areas. Founder of the dynasty, the apical ancestor of the Seljuks was their Beg, Seljuk, who was reputed to have served in the Khazar army, under whom, circa 950, they migrated to Khwarezm, near the city of Jend, where they converted to Islam. Expansion of the empire. The Seljuks were allied with the Persian Samanid Shahs against the Karakhanids. The Samanid fell to the Karakhanids in Transoxania, however, whereafter the Ghaznavids arose. The Seljuks became involved in this power struggle in the region before establishing their own independent base. Tufril and Chugra. Tufril was the grandson of Seljuk and brother of Chugra, under whom the Seljuks wrested an empire from the Ghaznavids. Initially the Seljuks were repulsed by Mahmud and retired to Khwarezm, but Tufril and Chugra led them to capture Mervin Nishapur. Later they repeatedly raided and traded territory with his successors across Khorasan and Balkh, and even sacked Ghazni in 1037. In 1040 at the Battle of Dandanakan, they decisively defeated Masudai of the Ghaznavids, forcing him to abandon most of his western territories to the Seljuks. In 1055, Tufril captured Baghdad from the Shia Buyids under a commission from the Abbasids. Alparslan, the son of Chugrat Beg, expanded significantly upon Tufril's holdings by adding Armenia and Georgia in 1064 and invading the Byzantine Empire in 1068, from which he annexed almost all of Anatolia. Arslan's decisive victory at the Battle of Manzikert in 1071 effectively neutralized the Byzantine resistance to the Turkish invasion of Anatolia. He authorized his Turkmen generals to carve their own principalities out of formerly Byzantine Anatolia, as Atabegs loyal to him. Within 2 years the Turkmens had established control as far as the Aegean Sea under numerous Bagliks. The Seljukids in northeastern Anatolia, Mengujekids in eastern Anatolia, Arturkids in southeastern Anatolia, Danishmendis in central Anatolia, Rum Seljuks in western Anatolia, and the Beylik of Zugchus of Smyrna in Izmir. Malik Shah I under Alparslan's successor, Malik Shah, and his 2 Persian viziers, Nizam al-Mulk and Taj al-Mulk. The Seljuk state expanded in various directions, to the former Iranian border of the days before the Arab invasion, so that it soon bordered China in the east and the Byzantines in the west. Malik Shah moved the capital from Ray to Isfahan. The Iqta military system and the Nizamiya University at Baghdad were established by Nizam al-Mulk, and the reign of Malik Shah was reckoned the golden age of Great Seljuk. The Abbasid Caliph titled him the Sultan of the East and West in 1087. The assassins of Hassan I Sabbah started to become a force during his era, however, and they assassinated many leading figures in his administration. According to many sources, these victims included Nizam al-Mulk. Governance. The Seljuk power was at its zenith under Malik Shah, and both the Kara Khanates and Ghaznavids had to acknowledge the overlordship of the Seljuks. The Seljuk dominion was established over the ancient Sasanian domains, in Iran and Iraq, and included Anatolia as well as parts of Central Asia and modern Afghanistan. The Seljuk rule was modeled after the tribal organization common in Turkic and Mongol nomads and resembled a family federation, or appanage, state. Under this organization, the leading member of the paramount family assigned family members portions of his domains as autonomous appanages. Division of empire. When Malik Shah died in 1092, the empire split as his brother and 4 sons quarreled over the apportioning of the empire among themselves. Malik Shah was succeeded in Anatolia by Kılıç Arslan I, who founded the Sultanate of Rum, and in Syria by his brother Tutush. In Persia he was succeeded by his son Mahmud I, whose reign was contested by his other 3 brothers Barkiruk in Iraq, Muhammad I in Baghdad, and Ahmad Sunja in Khorasan. When Tutush died, his sons Radwin and Dukuk inherited Aleppo and Damascus respectively and contested with each other as well, further dividing Syria amongst emirs antagonistic towards each other. In 1118, the 3rd son Ahmad Sunja took over the empire. His nephew, the son of Muhammad I, did not recognize his claim to the throne, and Mahmud II proclaimed himself sultan and established a capital in Baghdad, until 1131 when he was finally officially deposed by Ahmad Sunja. Elsewhere in nominal Seljuk territory were the Artukids in northeastern Syria and northern Mesopotamia. They controlled Jerusalem until 1098. The Danuzman dynasty founded a state in eastern Anatolia and northern Syria and contested land with the Sultanate of Rum. In Kurboffa exercised independence as the Artabig of Mosul. First Crusade. During the First Crusade, the fractured states of the Seljuks were generally more concerned with consolidating their own territories and gaining control of their neighbors, than with cooperating against the Crusaders. The Seljuks easily defeated the untrained People's Crusade arriving in 1096, but they could not stop the progress of the army of the subsequent Prince's Crusade, which took important cities such as Nicaea, Iconium, Caesarea Mazaca, and Antioch on its march to Jerusalem. In 1099 the Crusaders finally captured the Holy Land and set up the First Crusader states. The Seljuks had already lost Palestine to the Fatimids, who had recaptured it just before its capture by the Crusaders. Second Crusade. During this time conflict with the Crusader states was also intermittent, and after the First Crusade increasingly independent Atabegs would frequently ally with the Crusader states against other Atabegs as they vied with each other for territory. At Mosul, Zengi succeeded Kurboffa as Artabeg and successfully began the process of consolidating the Atabegs of Syria. In 1144 Zengi captured Edessa, as the county of Edessa had allied itself with the Artukids against him. This event triggered the launch of the Second Crusade. Nur ad-Din, one of Zengi's sons who succeeded him as Artabeg of Aleppo, created an alliance in the region to oppose the Second Crusade, which landed in 1147. Decline. Ahmad Sunja had to contend with the revolts of Kara Khanads in Transoxiana, Ghurids in Afghanistan and Kılıç in modern Kyrgyzstan, as well as the nomadic Kara Khitais who invaded the east and captured the eastern Kara Khanad state. The Kara Khitais then defeated the western Kara Khanads, a vassal of the Seljuks at Kujand. The Kara Khanads turned to their overlord, the Seljuks, for help, but at the Battle of Katwan in 1141, Sunja was decisively defeated. The Seljuk army suffered great losses and Sunja barely escaped with his life. The prestige of the Seljuks became greatly diminished, and they lost all his eastern provinces up to the Siyadaya, with the vassalage of western Kara Khanad taken by the Kara Khatan. Conquest by Khwarezm and the Ayyubids. In 1153, the Ghuz rebelled and captured Sunja. He managed to escape after 3 years but died a year later. The Atabegs, such as Zengiz and Artukids, were only nominally under the Seljuk Sultan, and generally controlled Syria independently. When Ahmed Sunja died in 1156, it fractured the empire even further and rendered the Atabegs effectively independent. Khorasani Seljuks in Khorasan and Transoxian. Capital: Merv. Kermana Seljuks. Sultanate of Rum. Capital: Iznik, later Konya. Atabelik of the Salgurids in Iran. Atabelik of Eldiguzids in Iraq and Azerbaijan. Capital: Hamadan. Atabelik of Bori in Syria. Capital: Damascus. Atabelik of Zangi in Al-Jazara. Capital: Mosul. Turkoman Bigliks. Danishmendis, Artukids, Saltuchids and Mengujekids in Asia Minor. Khwarezm Shahs in Transoxiana. Khwarezm. Capital: Urgench. After the Second Crusade, Nur ad-Din's general Shirkuh, who had established himself in Egypt on Fatimid land, was succeeded by Saladin. In time, Saladin rebelled against Nur ad-Din, and, upon his death, Saladin married his widow and captured most of Syria and created the Ayyubid dynasty. On other fronts, the Kingdom of Georgia began to become a regional power and extended its borders at the expense of Great Seljuk. The same was true during the revival of the Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia under Leo II of Armenia in Anatolia. The Abbasid Caliph and Nazir also began to reassert the authority of the Caliph and allied himself with the Khwarezm Shah Takash. For a brief period, Togrul III was the Sultan of all Seljuk except for Anatolia. In 1194, however, Togrul was defeated by Takash, the Shah of Khwarezmid Empire, and the Seljuk Empire finally collapsed. Of the former Seljuk Empire, only the Sultanate of Rum in Anatolia remained. As the dynasty declined in the middle of the 13th century, the Mongols invaded Anatolia in the 1260s and divided it into small emirates called the Anatolian Beyliks. Eventually one of these, the Ottoman, would rise to power and conquer the rest. Legacy: the Seljuks were educated in the service of Muslim courts as slaves or mercenaries. The dynasty brought revival, energy, and reunion to the Islamic civilization hitherto dominated by Arabs and Persians. The Seljuks founded universities and were also patrons of art and literature. Their reign is characterized by Persian astronomers such as Omar Khayyam, and the Persian philosopher Al-Ghazali. Under the Seljuks, New Persian became the language for historical recording, while the center of Arabic language culture shifted from Baghdad to Cairo. List of sultans of the Great Seljuk Empire. Gallery. Seljuk era art. Ewer from Herat, Afghanistan, dated 1180 to 1210 CE. Brass worked in Rapus and inlaid with silver and bitumen. British Museum. Head of male royal figure, 12th–13th century, found in Iran. Tofrol Tower, a 12th century monument south of Tehran in Iran, commemorating Tufrol Beg. The Karahan Twin Towers, built in 1053 in Iran, is the burial of Seljuk princes.